Hi, thank you for joining us for Virus Hackers and Thieves, what every business must have to protect their data from cyber miscreants. I'm Rafi Jimgochin, President and CTO of Triada Networks, and I'll be your presenter today. Today's agenda will be talking about why you should care about security, a little bit about myself, what the current threat landscape is, and what you can do about it. Well, why should you care? The Ponemon Institute estimates that it costs a company $194 for every customer record that is lost. If you have 100 clients, that's $19,400. If you have 1,000 clients, that's $194,000. So a single laptop that is lost may have cost you only a couple $100 to purchase, but could have the potential to cost your business in the thousands. Well, why would they want to attack you? Well, they aren't just attacking you, they're attacking everybody. Because the cost of entry is so low, it's a numbers game. Well, the implications, of course, are financial. There's some legal implications, regulatory compliance implications, reputation to your organization, as well as even personal safety. Here are some facts. Small businesses, according to American Express, 25% aren't using antivirus, or if they are, many are out of date and ineffective. 60% don't protect their wireless networks at the office, 2/3 don't have a security plan in place, and less than 6% of data breaches are discovered by the company, according to the Verizon Data Breach Report. That means over 90% of companies don't know that they've been compromised unless someone else tells them. And 50% of businesses that are hacked go out of business within 3 years. One fact is that business accounts are not covered by the FDIC, but are covered by the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, which means you only have 24 hours to notify your bank of a theft, otherwise you're out of luck. You may want to check your bank contracts. Who am I? As I said earlier, I'm Rafi Jimgochin. I've worked with computers since 1978. My dad brought home a TI 99-4. I was the director of IT infrastructure for a mid-tier investment firm that was responsible for $400 billion under assets under management. I was also the CIO for a boutique investment firm, and in 2008 opened Triada Networks, a boutique computer support company that focuses on small businesses that value securing their information, including investment companies, healthcare, and R&D firms. I am also a CISSP, a Certified Information Systems Security Professional since 2007. Hence the white hat. What are the changing threats? Well, most modern threats are web-borne, and 2 million new viruses are identified every month, according to McAfee. Attackers are targeting things like printers and thermostats and other non-computing devices as an easy way to get into your network. 600,000 Facebook accounts are hacked every day. Your social network data is used for targeting attacks to your company. Crimes are being automated using distributed botnets. A botnet is a collection of infected computers that are remotely controlled by a hacker. Embedding malware in software and videos and later resorting to blackmail is also becoming commonplace. So even if your networks and computers may be relatively secure, what about the others in your employees' homes? One business owner's son was surfing, let's say, some things that he wouldn't want his family to know about. The son's computer was infected, and after some online chats, was blackmailed to install a malicious USB stick into his dad's computer. He did it, his father's business information was stolen, and a couple weeks later, he confessed. We also seen the proliferation of fake antivirus software. Many of us have seen these pop-ups asking you to pay for registration in order to clean the infections. Sometimes these are called ransomware. We're also seeing a similar version of that called greening software, where it'll entice you to download the software and run it so that you'll help save the environment. Also, many registry cleaners that you find online are also under the hoods stealing your information. One such company from the Ukraine made both of these kinds of fake pop-ups and antivirus applications, and also the software that cleans them. They made $500 million over 3 years. They had a viable company, employees, and even had company outings and paid dividends. The motivations are many. We talked about that. The financial motivations. For example, a stolen credit card details can be sold for anywhere between $2 and $90. Physical credit cards are sold for nearly $200, and card cloners, the devices used to create cards from other existing cards, can cost up to $300. And if you're a little more enterprising, you can stand up a fake ATM for about $35,000. We also know about political and hacktivism related attempts where a group will attack a company or a political organization because they don't believe in their beliefs. And some just do for the heck of it. We're seeing mobile threats on the rise. In fact, one of the early Android malware were banking applications that were for existing real banks. For example, Bank of America had an application in the Android App Store that ended up being fake. And they found out when customers were calling them and asking them why their banking application wasn't working. And in response, they said, we don't have a banking application on the Android App Store. We're also seeing that 50% of flashlight applications on the Android App Store have malware. My guess is some of those farting applications are as well. These malware applications have access to all your mobile data like contacts, calendar, cameras, email, etc. And some are even been known to intercept calls and eavesdrop on them. Cloud computing is all the rage. Cloud computing is the ability to use resources available on the flip of a switch. Well, criminals are also using these resources to power the power of the cloud to hack other sites and crack passwords. We're also seeing cloud companies being compromised as well. Dropbox, for example, turned off password requirement to log into their services for a little while. We've seen Yahoo emails being hacked, Gmail emails getting hacked by the Chinese in order to uncover dissidents, and LinkedIn had their user database compromised. These aren't necessarily inherent flaws in cloud computing, but the hacks were due to poor planning and architecture, not the problems with the cloud itself. Well, China is the single largest source of hacking attempts currently. The 5-year plan for national and economic development included in the areas of information technology, alternative energy, advanced materials, healthcare, and agriculture. In fact, the People's Liberation Army Unit 61398 was found by Mandiant Threat Report, hacked nearly 141 different companies in 20 industries. They've stolen terabytes of data, many simultaneously, focusing on companies in English-speaking countries. They maintain an extensive infrastructure around the world with over 1,000 servers. They maintained access to their victims an average of 1 year. The longest was nearly 5 years. They have between a couple dozen and several hundred operators at any given time. They even have job listings in China for open positions. They've stolen items include product development information, designs, manufacturing processes, business plans, policy positions, meeting agendas, emails of high-ranking employees, and of course, usernames and passwords. Most of the initial infections came through phishing emails, and we'll talk about phishing emails shortly. So what can you do about this? The Australian Signals Directorate, their DSD, their equivalent of our NSA, talked about their top 3 ways to mitigate against 85% of targeted intrusions: catch, patch, and match. I would also add education to this. Catching malicious software. Filtering both your inbound and outbound email for viruses and spam will help protect against your internal employees. Also installing antivirus and anti-malware software on your desktops and exposed servers, and make sure that these applications are centrally monitored so you can see if a threat is widespread or isolated, and ensure that they are kept up to date. Out-of-date antivirus software is as useful as a chocolate teacup. Use advanced firewalls that do more than just allow this in and that out. Select one that provides multiple layers of security. For small businesses under a couple hundred employees, we recommend using a unified threat management device. Patching. Keep your Windows and Mac operating systems up to date. These patches are meant to fix vulnerabilities that are known. Keep your third-party applications up to date. Microsoft and Apple updates do not update Java, Flash, Acrobat, and other browsers for the most part. Automate your patch management process. Set a policy that you'll install critical and security patches within 7 days of its release. I recommend making this number as small as possible without putting your business at risk. Use a secondary tool like the Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer to make sure that your patch management is working. Match. The next step is to match the right people to the right access. Restrictions are made so that only authorized individuals that are privileged have access. Most employees do not need administrative access to their computers. If software vendors insist, I'm going to be bold and say that it's because they're being lazy. In fact, Microsoft today will not identify a piece of software as being Windows ready if it requires administrative access. Why is this important? Well, if an employee goes to a website that is malicious or receives an email with nefarious purposes, the bad program will run with the same least privilege access that the employee has and limit its damage. If an employee needs to install their own programs, then give them a separate account that allows them that, but it shouldn't be their day-to-day account. I would also add that you should apply the same principle to your firewalls. Don't just allow everything out. What leaves your network can be just as damaging as what comes in. Unless you have a full security team constantly monitoring your traffic, you should reduce your outbound door to just those things you want to leave. Also, if certain employees don't need internet access at all or only need a few access sites to do their job, block everything and only allow what's needed. Michael Santarcangelo explains that most business owners don't realize that the activities or behavior that they allow for themselves or their employees bring any risk to their business. They create good policy. There are great online resources available. If you're interested, send me a note and I'll send you some sources. Teach the policy to your employees. If you don't tell your employees what the policy is, what good is it? It's great if you create a policy for an auditor or regulator to review and get a check mark that you're good to go, but without your employees actually following them, it's worth the paper it's printed on. Explain the reasons for the policy. Unfortunately, because I said so may work for your kids, but it doesn't work well for your employees. Tell them why the policy exists, including what the risks are, and more often than not, they will comply. Using thumb drives. Thumb drives or USB sticks can hold quite a bit of data. 50% of people who found a thumb drive in their work parking lot walked into the office and plugged it in. That number goes up to 80% if that USB thumb drive has a company's logo on it. This is how the Stuxnet worm was introduced to an Iranian nuclear facility recently. There are also great ways to get a large amount of data out of your company. Consider a policy around USB drive use and enforce it. We mentioned phishing earlier. Emails that look like they're from someone or a company that you know, but they aren't. Commonly used from banking, including PayPal, social networks, shippers like FedEx and UPS. Many of these emails look very legitimate. Here's an example of one. The first one shows a typical phishing that may contain bad spelling, links to an email, some sort of threat of account closure or an inaccessibility usually coming from a well-known company. This example from Facebook. The second example shows how phishers hide a real link. If you hover your mouse over the link, don't click on it, you'll normally see a pop-up that shows the real website link. If you aren't sure, type in the real web address or call your bank. Banks will usually not send you links to log in, especially to reset your password. Many phishers will obfuscate the address like this using other ways like misspelled domain names or using a symbol or other number instead of a letter that looks similar. As the mobile use is on increase, it's also becoming a platform for attacking. Use a password on your mobile devices. Make it difficult to guess. Longer is stronger. 6 is better than 4. Mix your numbers and letters. Make it unique, not the same as your ATM PIN or Facebook password. On your wireless networks, use strong encryption. WPA is better than WEP. WPA2 is better than WPA. Create a strong password. If you're using a shared key, everyone will have that same password. You may want to consider setting up a separate password for each person. Don't use the default name of the network like Linksys or Belkin. Beware of filtering based on devices. They are an administrative burden that is rife with errors and provides little protection. Focus on encryption and strong passwords instead. If you're using an open network, like at a coffee shop, library, or airport, Use a virtual private network or VPN or some protected way to connect to your services, but don't do your banking there. Separate your visitor network from your main network in your office. You may say that I have a firewall already, but sorry, basic firewalls aren't enough. The threats are constantly changing and increasing. As threats increase and change, you need a scalable solution that will evolve with the needs of your business. Simply entry-level firewalls can't provide you the protection that you need. The number and complexity of tools which are required for providing IT security is on the rise. Firewalls and VPN gateways no longer provide sufficient protection. The use of intrusion detection and prevention systems have become a mandatory asset, and demand for tools which check emails for web downloads for dangerous content such as spam, viruses, spyware, phishing are also on the rise. With every additional tool employed by IT, your infrastructure costs, expenditures, and time for installation go up. Training and maintenance will also increase. As a result, many companies cannot make this requirement. Well, how can we help? One of the tools that we use to protect clients is the Triada Networks UTM. The Triada Networks UTM, powered by Sophos, is a 21st century solution designed to enable you to take advantage of today's and tomorrow's technologies and working practices. And you can add modules as you go when you need them, whether you need to enable secure wireless networks, securely connect branch offices, or enable road warriors to connect them securely. With regards to the changing threat landscape, the truth is there's no silver bullet to stopping modern threats. Different techniques like antivirus, web filtering, application control, and web application firewalls are all effective at combating different attack vectors. A comprehensive solution is necessary to provide an effective defense, and our UTM gives you just that, all managed through a single, easy-to-use console. So for our viewers today, we've providing a free security assessment. We'll review your security and disaster recovery policies, scan your network for vulnerabilities and backdoors, identify potential risks in your firewall, validate backup systems, and ensure that your anti-malware, antivirus systems are working properly. If you have an office with 5 or more computers, please visit triadaNetworks.com/secure-me or call us at 201-297-7778. Thank you for listening.